All right, everybody, we're rolling at you live once again. It's been how long has it been?
Been a couple of weeks. I would say 4 or 5 weeks, man. It's been a
think
while. It's been too long.
It's been way too long.
It's been too long.
Sorry for the absence. You guys have been asking if we've quit. We have not quit. We've been away from each other for the last month or so. We've been on
4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, different parts of the globe. So, but we're back at you right now. We got the Sand Rally going on. The Sand Rally is something. It's a unique experience. It's unlike any other league that we have going on here, in the fact that it's different teams. It's not the original 32. It's a little bit of a change of pace. Some other racers. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to kind of get into. So week 8 just happened. Week 8 came out on Wednesday. This will probably come out on Friday. So let's just hold on. Let's take a step back here. I think we're going to be trying to come out with this episode and then one that's recapping the entire Sand Rally. And then in between this and the next event that we have, we're going to give you guys some fun episodes.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had a couple weeks that we've obviously not podcasted. We've had some great weeks in the Sand Rally, Marble Rally. We were definitely spoiled with that Survival 100.
Yeah.
But we've definitely seen some good racing here. We're excited to talk about that. We're excited to talk about the future.
Absolutely.
And get it going.
100%.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
It's really good to be back. And sorry, guys. Sorry we left you. We promised that we're not going to be gone for long. If we ever leave, we're coming back. We love this. We love to talk about the marbles. The only thing, let's jump into it right now. We'll talk about, obviously we've been away from each other, but another thing about this marble rally is that it's not the original 32 teams. So I'm a Rangers fan. We got a Limers, Blackjacks, Wolfpack,
big
Plasma fan.
A lot of teams.
Yeah. You can see the Plasma poster in the corner. He's a Plasma fan. Regardless, we got to get into this because it's still a really good event. I think my initial thoughts are Sand Rally has a soft spot in my heart because it's actually what brought me into JMR in the first place. Mm-hmm. I love these tracks. It's really fun to watch. You just pick a marble. It's simple. You're just looking at one track. There's not many obstacles, which is something that we may dislike about it. Let me just get your overall thoughts on the Sand Rally just in general.
Well, something we talked about before. I mean, it's a different kind of race. And we, let's talk about Survival 100 one more time, just because I thought that event was great, but completely different from what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
Different events in that, different obstacles. This one is pure sand racing. So, you're going to have some racers that are good at racing on that, that clay, that wet sand. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have some other racers that, have to get used to it. Yeah. And they're going to take a couple of weeks. We're definitely seeing that. I think it's a great twist.
Yeah.
And it's been entertaining. It's been different, which, different is good. I really think we're seeing some different side of these marbles that we haven't seen, for a couple months.
Definitely. These are marbles that we really haven't seen, and that, to be honest, full disclosure, we don't really know these teams that well.
Absolutely,
they're teams. We fell in love with the 32 teams, and just
hard
the leagues.
Not to.
Yeah, hard not to, absolutely, because that's what you see most of. But it's a good twist. It's a fun event. Some things I love about it. I love seeing the weather conditions. I remember race 1, Greg was saying, look at all the moisture on these marbles. It's a funny twist. They're exposed to the elements.
We should talk about that, not to interrupt you, but
go. Yeah.
The one thing I did like, just right from the start, we saw that sand condition, we saw the weather conditions, a little temperature. Obviously we're outside now.
Yeah.
It's some difference, a lot of variables here.
Yeah.
You can argue the obstacles are not there, so those variables are not in that. Mm-hmm. But you're dealing with the weather, you're dealing with the conditions of the sand, the track. There's a couple things that these racers have to think about going into this race that they didn't have to before.
Absolutely, it's fun because the conditions are not always going to be perfect. It's not an indoor track. They're
different every day,
and it's fun that they have the sand condition out of 5, the weather condition out of 5, temperature, where the wind is, track location. It's a fun wrinkle. I think some racers, as we've seen throughout these 8 races, race better in certain conditions. Mm-hmm. It's become pretty apparent.
Even the wind. Even the wind could take effect.
Yeah, the wind.
We saw some times here, and we won't go over every round, but we saw some times in the early rounds that were a lot quicker than, on average. Just because that wind, whether it's going north, south, whatever, it's helping those racers. Vice versa, those, thank you, Kamala.
You're good.
The wind going at you is obviously going to slow down the times of the racers. So,
100%.
It's definitely interesting. I like that little wrinkle. I think that's our crazy chevron of this race.
Absolutely.
It's a little different. It's those weather variables that are definitely different for us.
Right. So there are no obstacles like you mentioned, but the obstacles are more natural, which is kind of
Absolutely.
cool. It's like, I mean, I don't know. It's like whether you're playing golf. A links course is just it's subject to weather, whereas a parkland course is subject to trees and different obstacles, like
or a man-made pond or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a fun thing. We love it. And so before we get into it, is there a team that you have been rooting for? I mean, just throughout this whole thing. I know you're a Plasma fan, so I imagine Ghost Plasma must have caught your eye.
See, it's tough, and I would love to hear the audience's opinion on this, because it's tough being dedicated. I mean, for me, I went from racer to racer, so it was 5 different racers.
Right.
But you're married to your racer, whether it's the Oceanics, the Rangers, Plasma, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Then you get to this event, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know who this is. You might know it from years past, but now you're kind of like, do I reset? Do I stay loyal? For me, I kind of tended to go with that Ghost Plasma name just because I'm a Plasma fan, as you can see.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to hear you, because, and a lot of fans out there, there's no orange marble in this event.
That's true. And I will say Orangers, that's not the reason I was an Orangers fan in the first place, was just because they were orange. But, I'm even trying
helps.
to, it certainly helps. And it's a standout marble. It's easy to identify. That certainly helps everything. I will say before qualifiers, the team that I wanted was El Capitan. Unfortunately, didn't qualify for the A League, but is doing really well in the B League.
Very well.
So that's kind of a happy thing to see. But red number 3 is a fan favorite. And I guess I'll just hop on the fan favorite train, because like Rangers, red number 3 is also kind of one of those fan favorites. Red number 3, Lollipop. I remember when I found Sand Rally, must have been nearly a decade ago when I found JMR. I fell in love with those kind of teams because they were just around. So red number 3 is a team that I really like. Unfortunately, they're essentially eliminated after week 8 from being in contention for the top 3. But Dragon's Egg is in first place right now. I don't know. What I'm happy about the fact that we don't know these marbles so well is that we can be a little bit more unbiased going into these races, and we can kind of just analyze the actual races rather than just rooting for our racer. You know what I mean?
I would agree. And I wanted to get your opinion, along with people watching. What do you think of these 2 leagues? Because we've gone back and forth off camera. We talked about this, but at times I like it because obviously we're getting more racing.
Yeah.
But other times I'm like, do I really put the value in the B League like I do A? Do I want to watch it as bad? You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
It's a little tough. So what do you think? Are you happy that JMR included that? Like, what's your take on that?
I think it's cool that they included that, especially if there are people who are diehard Sand Rally fans, so they can actually watch their team.
You're getting 2 races.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm thinking, like, let's compare it to the Marble League, for example. The teams that don't qualify for the Marble League, say your team Plasma didn't qualify, it would still be nice to watch them in like a B League Marble League and still be able to cheer them on. Although at the same time, it's what are they really playing for? Like, no one's going to remember the B League champion. No one,
Well, the one thing I did like about it in the B League, we talked about El Capitan, is like, man, that racer needs to be promoted.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see that guy in the A League real bad.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
reminds me of like a soccer, if you guys are like PPL fans or soccer fans, like relegation and promotion, like El Capitan, I think he can go top 10 in this A League.
Absolutely.
The way he's been racing in B League.
Like you just said about the soccer comparison, like there's the champion, or not the Champions League, there's like the league, the EPL, and then there's the second one, and you think that the top teams in that second league can probably compete in the League One. So yeah, El Capitan probably could play up here, but unfortunately he didn't qualify well enough. So you want to just jump into the last couple of weeks here? I will say this episode and probably the finale episode are going to be a little shorter because unlike Marble Survival 100, it's just a little less to talk about. There's not the obstacles aren't different necessarily. The tracks are different, but it's harder to talk about, and you just have this constant change in leaderboard, like rather than just marble surviving. So
a little bit different.
Certainly a little bit different.
Absolutely.
So we'll jump back. Let's go to week 6. So obviously we don't want to go all the way back to week 1. I mean, that would just be a lot. Since we're jumping in here kind of late in the Sand Rally. Reflector was a team after race 6 that was in the top. Now they find themselves in the 3 position. They lost 1 from week 7 to week 8. They sit there with 73 points, 12 behind Dragon's Egg. Is that a team that you think can make moves up to the top again, or do you think they're heading in the wrong direction, trending in the wrong direction?
So as we talked about, and again, we're comparing this to Survivor 100 and the tracks there. I think it's very similar in a way that the DNFs kill you, and the track can really make you pay.
Yeah.
We've seen many examples of it. If you get caught on a rock, if you get hit by an obstacle, in the last event, we really don't know. And that's what's the beauty of these races is like the unpredictability of it. I can't get a read, to be completely honest with you, and that's not good analysis for me. But like watching these races, you just don't know, and with these conditions, the way they are, I just think it's so hard to predict. I really do. I just think the weather, the sand, being wet like it is. We're talking about wind, like it's just there's so many variables that go into this.
I agree with what you're saying, and it's like that different kind of beauty that comes with sand rally is there aren't obstacles, but there are in the form of nature, which is really kind of a cool thing to see. But going back to Reflector, you got to look at what he's been able to do. He's podiumed 3 times. He's got a first, a second, and a third under his belt in these 7 races. That's something that's really encouraging if you're a Reflector fan. I think that he does have what it takes in these last 2 races to make some moves. The other thing is there's 20 marbles going right now. So the variability of what you can do in each race is pretty insane. Like, it's pretty massive.
Yeah.
We've been seeing, as we've been watching Sand Rally, you've been seeing racers just absolutely flip-flop on the leaderboard going from top to bottom. It's almost as if no one sticks in that first place spot for too long.
Well, back to Reflector too, and I totally agree with your point, but some of these racers in the top 10, they hit those obstacles, they hit the rocks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they're racing so well, they come back to the top.
Yep.
You see them fall 10 spots.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden at the end of the race, they're finishing 7th or 8th. And that's why they're in the top 10. So, a racer like Reflector, Blue Moon, Super Bowl, some of those guys, they're racing well even through adversity. Which, is why they're where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing I will say, I remember, so it's been a long time since we podcasted. We got to remember to hold these mics close to our mouths. That's just what
I think I'm doing a decent job.
Okay, I'm
the
hoping you are.
The comments have been hammering me.
Yeah,
so
the comments were hammering you back in the day.
I think I'm doing all right.
Oh, hold on. I'm starting to play the video. One other marble I want to talk about. So week 6, Blizzard Blaster. First of all, BBL, pretty funny acronym.
Pretty hilarious.
For a team name.
Pretty hilarious.
That's fine. We'll leave it at that. But they moved up 7 spots to first place in week 6. We're at week 8 now. They've moved all the way down to spot number 9. So that's a testament to how much parity there is in this event. So, I mean, if for nothing else, that's really just what I wanted to point it out. The fact that you can sink like a rock on this leaderboard if you're not showing up. And Blizzard Blaster has been doing that.
I would agree. And to go off your point, and we're in round 8 now. Obviously, we're going, round 10, and 9, and 10. What position do you think has a chance? Is it the 6th spot that has a chance to win? Is it the 10th spot?
It's a great question.
We talked about red number 3.
Yeah.
Probably no shot at all.
Right.
But what's that, that line, that drop off?
Oh, yeah. Just for some reference, you just talked about red number 3. They're the only team that technically has the ability to still podium in this event, but they are in 14th place. 15 through 20 are eliminated as of now. So red number 3 is that last team that still has a chance, in quotes. But they have 48 points, which is almost 40 behind Dragon's Egg, who's in first place. So to answer your question, I think you got to have. I think it's the top 6, and even Super Bowl sitting at the 6th spot with 61 points, 24 behind the leader, doesn't look like they have what it takes to win it. So realistically, I'll say the top 4 really have a chance to take home gold. The podium's a different story, but Pollo Loco at the 4 spot, 73 points behind 85 Dragon's Egg, the leader. 12 points. Yeah, they can make that up in one race technically.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And if we learned anything about these races, Dragon's Egg is not safe.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's up by 6, 8, or 10.
Yeah.
One race can tell all.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks like Dragon's Egg should be a runaway, but that's just not how this works. It's not Marble League. It's not Marble Survival 100. That's not how it works. Anything else you want to take away from week 8 here? Dragon's Egg moved up 2 to take the league. Blue Moon dropped 1 out of the lead spot because Dragon's Egg had a great race. Is there anything else you want to put in before we make our predictions for who's going to win this thing?
No, I think we hit a lot of it. I think the volatility of the track says a lot. Some of these racers, to be honest, we don't know. So it's very telling on how they're racing right now.
Yeah.
I don't have last year or the year before.
Right.
I don't know a lot of these racers. Not to say this racing isn't great.
Yeah.
It is, but to make my prediction, it's not really on the past. It's on these 7-8 races.
Exactly.
And that's where it becomes challenging. Because if we know one thing, it's, you can be a great marble one day and then a bad marble the next.
100%.
You just don't know.
I mean, that's Marble League, that's MS 100, that's sports, really.
Absolutely.
It depends on the day. It depends on, especially like we talked about,
it's a lot
luck,
of factors.
track conditions,
exactly,
how you race in every given day. So, I'll jump into my predictions before you give yours. I actually have who I think is going to be the 1, 2, and 3, who's going to win the gold, silver, and bronze in these races. We talked about him a bunch. I have Reflector up there. I've seen that he has gotten gold. He's gotten silver. He's gotten bronze. He's been kind of the model of consistency. He's had a couple down races, which is why he's sitting 12 behind the lead at 73. That's not great. So you don't love to see that kind of misbalance.
Yep. But
he's had some good races recently, and I think that he has what it takes to get back up to number 1. And Dragon's Egg not having a first place finish just worries me a little bit. Number 2, Pollo Loco, tied with Reflector right now, has 2 second-place finishes and a bronze, just like Dragon's Egg. Again, I think Dragon's Egg, this is the first time they're going to be in first place. Pollo Loco has kind of been there for a lot of this championship. They didn't go up or down this week. They're staying pat. I think it's time for them to ascend. I think they can make it to number 2. So I have both of these teams with 73 points, making it up a little bit. And then finally, Dragon's Egg. I just think that now that they have 85 points, they have this lead.
That lead
it's going to be tough for them to drop out of the top 3, to be totally honest, especially with in 5th place, you see Crazy Cat's Eyes 62. That's 23 points behind them. So it would be a serious meltdown for them to get out of the top 4. In fact, I think they stay in the top 3. So that's my top 3. Again, we don't know these marbles that well. Let me preface, or maybe that's not the right word, whatever. We don't really have, we haven't really paid much attention to Sand Rally in the past, so we don't know these marbles that well. So we don't know their tendencies. We don't know much about them, but that's what I'm given based on the information that we've seen in these last 8 races.
I would agree. I mean, just to, I don't want a podium just because I'm not confident in my picks like we were our top 10. Yeah. Pollo Loco is a racer I like just because of the medal count.
Yeah.
If you look, he's tied with Dragon Egg for medals, so I love that. Crazy Cat's Eyes is another name that I think will be up there.
Mm-hmm.
The bias in me, I think, goes Plasma. I think he could, get close to that bronze. It's going to be tough, and I know the point totals, but like Russ said, it's tough. It's our first time watching it, and it's the great races.
Yeah.
But these are new racers for us, and we have to learn their tendencies.
Yeah.
But our predictions are predictions. Like we'll get some hate, we'll get some love for him, but that's our predictions.
So you're looking at Ghost Plasma to potentially podium.
You know what? Maybe not podium, but like kiss the podium a little bit. 4, 3, 4, 5. I would be happy with that if I'm a Ghost Plasma fan.
Okay.
I think Pollo Loco, like you said, will touch up in that podium, hopefully 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think Dragon's Egg is going to fall. I just think
I agree.
It's so volatile, and these races are so crazy that
it's almost
I could see him falling.
It's almost the kind of event, kind of like we said in Marble Survival 100. You don't really want to be in that one spot going into these last 2 races because it's such a hard spot to hold, as we've seen in Marble Survival 100. Even we've seen in this iteration of Marble Rally, it's almost impossible to hold that top spot. So it just seems unlikely that Dragon's Egg can really stay
It's
there.
about that podium. Do you want to be on the podium? We argued with the Raspberry Racers.
Yeah.
They got to get on the podium.
Yeah.
Then we, talked about other racers like the Chocolatiers that were on the podium a lot. It's tough. It's a very balancing act. And, in the long run, fatigue plays a factor. You don't know. So it should be really interesting how this plays out. Next 2 weeks should be fun. Let's go into the future. Because I'm pretty excited about. I've heard some rumors on Reddit, heard some rumors, on the Instagram, from Yella. But let's talk about the future, our future, the race future. What events are we looking forward to?
I'm happy to discuss that. So we have, we personally have a couple things coming up. We've been talking to Yella and the team about the schedule coming up. We're gonna release this podcast this week, hopefully Friday. We're gonna give our thoughts on the Sand Rally, what's happened, basically everything we've just said, and then once Sand Rally's over, we're gonna give kind of our final thoughts about the Sand Rally, how it ended up, who took home the gold, and we're gonna swiftly move into what the next event is. We believe it's Marbula 1.
That's what I'm thinking.
We believe it's Marbula 1.
That's what I've been hearing.
We're not positive. We're waiting to hear from the team on that.
Which the fan should love that.
Yeah.
We're ecstatic for that.
100%.
I think from what I've heard, it's going to be a great track. Always a lot of anticipation going into that event. It should be fun.
So as much as we're sad that the 32 teams aren't here, it's kind of like a nice anticipation builder for when they return. Because once I see O'Rangers, Team Plasma, Raspberry Racers, once I see them back,
excitement is going
to be a lot to even handle.
It's going to be awesome.
So that's going to be awesome. But in between Sand Rally and whatever's coming next, probably Marbula 1, we have a couple of fun episodes for you guys that we're going to record. We won't give too many hints, but basically we're going to be juxtapositioning the 32 marble teams with something. I don't know how much we can give away here. I don't know how much more you want to give away, but it's going to be a fun thing to tune in. If you're a sports fan, you're going to want to tune in to these other episodes.
It should be fun. And again, not to give a lot away. We've been seeing the comments, and the comments are funny just because we see so many fans from different points of view.
Yeah.
We're seeing Oceanics fans, we're seeing Mellow Yellow, we're seeing Ghost Plasma fans, we're seeing all different kinds of fans.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reasoning is I was a fan of the Oceanics because of this.
Yeah.
And just that's kind of the hint I'll give you. I think us making some comparisons of why Russ is an O'Rangers fan and why I can't make up my mind about a team to pick. I think that'll be fun. And we're going to have a couple of those episodes that'll kind of, bleed into the Marbula 1.
Yeah.
And then we'll be all systems go. I mean, I think once Marbula 1 comes into play, it's going to be a lot of content and a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Marbula 1 into Marble League. It's going to be absolutely insane. Cannot wait to do that with you guys.
100%.
You good?
I'm good. I mean, this is good to be back.
Great to be back.
We appreciate, you were saying before, like, the people are commenting and waiting for the pod.
Yeah.
We've been gone for a couple of weeks, and obviously we're not done. We're not quitting. Just been away for the summer, taking some breaks. But we're excited to be back, and we're gonna keep rolling out these podcasts.
Yeah, I promise we're not done, but for right now we're rolling out, and we'll see you guys at the next episode.
Peace.